Emre moved to an old countryside house to escape city life and be closer to nature. The house was quite cheap, mainly because no one had lived there for years. The previous owners had suddenly abandoned it and never returned. However, Emre didn't pay much attention to these rumors. It was just an old house. Maybe a little creepy, but nothing more. The first few nights passed without any trouble. But on the third night, he woke up to the sound of a door creaking. His eyes opened, but the room was dark. He was sure he had closed the door before going to bed, yet now it was slightly ajar. A disturbing feeling crept over him, as if he wasn't alone in the room. But he didn't want to dwell on it. "It's just the wind," he reassured himself and went back to sleep. However, the next day, strange things started happening in the house. Is someone inside the house? When he woke up in the morning, he found the kitchen chairs turned upside down. At first, he didn't notice, but while making coffee, a nagging feeling made him pause. If he didn't do this, then who did? Uneasy, he put the kitchen back in order and went about his day. But the thought wouldn't leave his mind. That night, as he was getting ready for bed, something in the hallway caught his attention. There were muddy footprints on the floor. At first, he brushed it off. Maybe he had unknowingly tracked in some dirt from outside. But then he noticed something chilling. The footprints weren't leading from outside to inside. They were leading from inside to outside. A cold fear settled in his chest. He took a deep breath and started following the prints. They led all the way to the back of the house, stopping in front of a door that had remained locked for years. The room was supposed to be sealed shut, and yet someone or something had been inside. He found himself pacing back and forth in front of the door, hesitation gripping him. He didn't know what lay beyond it, but a deep, gnawing fear told him he might not want to find out. The message on the wall. The next night, she made a decision. She was going to open the room. With a metal rod in hand, she forced the lock. The lock was old, so it opened easily. She slowly pushed the door ajar and stepped inside. The room contained only an old bed, a dusty table, and hundreds of eyes drawn on the walls. They were all watching her. And on the wall, in large letters, was a sentence. "I'm watching you. Every night. Every time you sleep." She turned toward the door. But just as she was about to close it, she heard a sound. Creak. A breath sound. Her eyes slowly drifted to the corner of the room. And there, someone was there. In the darkness. Emre tried to suppress the scream that was caught in his throat as he attempted to leave the room. But before he could close the door, he saw it. A tall, hunched silhouette standing in the corner. At first, he thought it was just part of the darkness, but as his eyes adjusted, he realized that thing was looking at him. And then, a whisper-like voice was heard. "This time, you noticed me." At that moment, the light in the room went out. Emre, frozen in fear, tried to close the door, but a hand, with cold and slender fingers, grabbed his wrist. A real hand. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The fingers tightened their grip on his wrist. Then, everything went dark. The next day, the villagers found Emre's house with the door open. When they entered, they searched for him, but no one was home. The only strange thing was a new inscription added to the wall of the locked room. "I'm with you now." And Emre was never found again. The small town of Black Hollow had been peaceful and quiet for years. However, there was one name the townsfolk never uttered: Isaac Crowley. Living on the edge of the forest, in the most remote corner of town, This old man was someone everyone feared and avoided. Stories about him had been passed down for generations, yet no one truly knew who he was or why he lived in complete isolation from the townspeople. Daniel Grayson, a young journalist working for a magazine that investigated supernatural occurrences, became intrigued by the mystery surrounding Isaac Crowley. The moment he arrived in Black Hollow, he noticed the tense demeanor of the townspeople. When he asked an elderly man at the local cafe about Isaac, the old man's face immediately darkened. "You shouldn't talk about him," the old man muttered in a hoarse voice. "He is cursed. Those who enter that house never return. You won't either." Ignoring the warning, Daniel decided to visit Isaac's house. As he followed the narrow, overgrown path, twisted trees loomed over him, their gnarled branches stretching ominously. The fog thickened the farther he walked, blurring the surroundings into eerie shapes. Finally, at the forest's edge, he saw the house, a decaying structure covered in rotting wood. Its windows were dark, and the door stood slightly ajar. There were no signs of life inside. Cautiously, Daniel pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, releasing the heavy scent of mold into the air. The house appeared untouched for years. Dust coated everything, and the worn-out furniture seemed on the verge of collapse. As he moved through the dim hallway, he noticed faded photographs on the walls. The faces in the pictures had been deliberately scratched out. Suddenly, a creaking sound came from upstairs, making Daniel freeze. Someone, or something, was moving. With trembling hands, he pulled out his camera and slowly ascended the staircase. Each step groaned under his weight. At the end of the corridor, a slightly open door allowed a flickering glow to seep through. Pushing the door wider, Daniel saw an old man sitting in the center of the room. It was unmistakably Isaac Crowley. His frail body, pale skin, and hollowed eyes made him appear almost ghostly. The table in front of him was littered with old newspaper clippings, yellowed notebooks, and pages covered in strange, ominous symbols. As Daniel hesitated at the threshold, Isaac slowly lifted his head, his vacant eyes locking onto him. "You've come," the old man murmured in a hushed tone. "Are you here to stop me, or to accept the curse?" Before Daniel could respond, the candles in the room suddenly extinguished, plunging them into darkness. A chilling coldness filled the air, and whispers began to echo in his ears. "You cannot leave. You belong here. There is no escape." Panic surged through Daniel as he turned to flee, but the door slammed shut on its own. Behind him, shadows twisted and writhed, taking shape in the darkness. From within those swirling forms, Isaac's decayed hands reached out and grasped Daniel's wrist. A piercing scream shattered the town's silence. But the people of Black Hollow paid no attention, because they knew that anyone who entered Isaac Crowley's house never returned. The curse of Black Hollow had claimed yet another soul. A small village was nestled among lush green mountains. Beside the village, there was a deep lake filled with cool waters. The lake was considered sacred by the villagers, but no one dared to approach it at night. According to the legend, a spirit lived in the lake, luring anyone who entered the water and never allowing them to return. One of the young villagers, Mehmet, always found these stories entertaining. One night, he decided to go to the lake with his friends. As the moon shone brightly in the sky, the young people sat by the lake's edge. The water shimmered in the moonlight, presenting a serene landscape. However, there was a fear lingering in their hearts. "Don't be afraid, let's just take a look at the water," Mehmet said to his friends. They hesitantly nodded but followed him. As Mehmet approached the lake's edge, he noticed a strange movement in the water. "Do you see that?" he asked. The water seemed to be waiting for something to surface. Suddenly, a vague figure appeared on the surface of the water. It was the face of a woman, her features lost in the water. Her eyes glowed with deep sorrow and pain. Mehmet, entranced, began to approach the woman's figure. His friends warned him, shouting, "Leave it! It's just a legend." As the woman slowly surfaced from the water, her voice was a sweet melody. "Come, come with me," she said. Mehmet's heart raced. The deep sorrow in her eyes captivated him. While his friends pulled back in fear, Mehmet moved closer to the woman's call. In an instant, a wave rose from the depths of the water and pulled Mehmet toward the lake. His friends screamed and rushed to help him, but the lake was too deep. Mehmet was lost in the woman's gaze. "Don't let me go," he cried out, but her voice faded like an echo. Finally, his friends managed to pull Mehmet from the water. But now his eyes were vacant, and his expression was blank as he stared at the sky. "That woman," Mehmet said, "she is calling me." When the villagers learned of the situation the next day, they left Mehmet by the lake's edge. But now he found no peace, neither there nor in the village. Every night, his eyes searched for the lake, and he could hear the woman's voice. His friends tried to save him, but the secret of the lake had trapped Mehmet's soul. The lake continued to be one of the village's deep secrets. While everyone forgot about it, the whispers of Mehmet echoed on the surface of the lake at night. "Come, come with me." What would your reaction be if you were a friend of Mehmet and encountered such a situation? I am waiting for your response. After Mehmet's disappearance, everyone in the village began to live in great fear. The lake had become an even more cursed place. Villagers were careful not to go outside at night or pass by the lake. However, over time, forgetfulness and habit began to replace this fear. Many people made an effort to forget what had happened in the village. One day, a brave young girl named Elif, who lived outside the village, heard about the events at the lake. Elif had always been curious about the village legends, and this time she wanted to discover what was happening there. She decided to investigate Mehmet's fate. When night fell, she took a lantern and went to the shore of the lake. When she arrived at the shore, she saw the moonlight shimmering on the water's surface. However, she noticed a vague movement on the surface of the water. As she slowly approached, she began to hear a melancholic melody coming from the lake. Elif felt her heart racing, but with courage, she called out to the lake, "Is that you, Mehmet?" There was a moment of silence, and then the woman's figure reappeared on the surface of the water. This time, Elif was faced with the woman's sorrowful eyes. "You are calling me, aren't you?" the woman said. "Come, come with me. Your salvation is me." Elif felt a great emptiness and lostness in the woman's eyes. "Who are you?" she asked. The woman replied, "I gather the souls of those lost in the lake. Come and end this curse." Although Elif was scared, she understood the woman's pain. "Don't leave me, help me," the woman whispered. Elif thought she needed to find a way to save the souls lost in the lake. "What should I do?" she asked. The woman said, "At midnight, there is a ring in the deepest part of the lake. Take that ring and bring it to me. Then I and the other souls will be free." Elif nodded determinedly and said, "Okay, I will do it." As the night went on, Elif entered the water. As she swam deeper, the coldness and darkness of the water frightened her. However, the woman's voice continued to encourage her. "Keep going, you are getting closer." As Elif dove deeper, lights began to sparkle in the dark water around her. Finally, she found a glowing ring at the bottom of the lake. As she picked up the ring, a great storm suddenly formed around her. The lake began to churn angrily. Holding the ring tightly, Elif started to swim towards the surface. The storm and waves tried to pull her back, but Elif continued to swim with determination. At last, she reached the surface of the lake and managed to get to the shore, breathless. The woman appeared on the water's surface and said, "Bring me the ring." Elif handed the ring to her. As soon as the woman took the ring, she glowed with a beam of light. "Thank you. I am free now," she said. In an instant, the water in the lake calmed down. The woman smiled at Elif, showing a vague group of souls gathered behind her. "Don't forget us. Never approach the lake again, but remember us." Elif watched as the souls were slowly drawn into the depths of the lake. There was peace in the lake now, but a pain remained in her heart. The lake continued to be a secret, but Elif learned what courage and determination could achieve. Now, the lake was no longer a curse but a symbol of freedom. The souls lost in the depths of the lake were freed, but Elif would never forget that night. The lake, which would never again be approached, would remain a legend in people's memories.